Birth defects soar in Washington state. Fukushima radiation takes hold. Now, this is being discovered in Washington, but I don't think Washington is probably any different than Oregon, California, Nevada, all the western states basically, and it's spreading throughout the United States, I'm sure. But let me read you what it says here. This is from Turner Radio Network News, Monday, February 17, 2014. Radiation released into the atmosphere by the Fukushima, Japan nuclear accident has begun taking human toll in newborn babies. A cluster of severe genetic birth defects, 4 times the national average, has emerged in a 3-county area around Yakima, Washington, on the U.S. West Coast. Local doctors are stunned and cannot find a reason for a cluster of deformed babies. Others know it from Fukushima radiation, which saturated Washington in March of 2011. This will get worse, much worse. Babies in a 3-county area near Yakima, Washington, are being born without parts of their brain or skull. Another birth defect in which, now the word I want to is anecephaly, anecephaly, and I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's a disease. Another birth defect in which the neural tube, which forms the brain and spine, fails to close properly. Spina bifida, and a sac-like protrusion of the brain through the front or back of the skull. Encephalia, encephalocele, as of 14 months ago, by January 2013, officials with the Washington State Health Department and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention had counted nearly 24 cases in 3 years, a rate 4 times the national average. Health officials originally alerted to the problem by a nurse, Sarah Barron, 58, who was in charge of infection control and quality assurance at Prosser Memorial Hospital, a 25-bed medical center in the farm town set on the Yakima River. A 30-year nursing veteran, she'd seen perhaps one or 2 devastating cases of anecephaly in her wide-ranging career, and now I was sitting at Prosser with 30 deliveries a month, and there's 2 cases in 6-month period, Barron said. Then I was talking to another doctor about it, and she has a 3rd one coming. My teeth dropped. It was like, oh my God. At a regional medical meeting, there was more anecdotal reports. So Barron notified the state health officials, who started looking into the problem. This is bizarre, Barron said. This is a very, very small area. Investigators pored over medical records of the 27 area women, which affected pregnancies, and 108 matched controls, who received care at the same 13 prenatal clinics. Starr said they examined where the women worked, what disease they had had, whether they smoked or drank alcohol, what kind of medications they took, and other factors. They looked at where they lived, and whether they got their water from a public source or a private well. They looked at race and whether the problems were more pronounced in the areas migrants farmed and farm workers lived, and in as well as in other residents. In the end, there was nothing, no common exposures, conditions, or causes, state officials said, to explain the spike. No one checked for radiation. Of all the testing, of all the research, no one bothered to look at what some see as the most obvious cause. Radiation from Fukushima, Japan, nuclear disaster site. In March of 2011, an earthquake off the coast of Japan caused a tsunami, which enveloped the Fukushima nuclear power plant, overwhelmed its sea wall. The water shorted out all electricity, stopped the pumps that provided the water to cool the reactor cores. Of the 6 reactors at Fukushima, 4 melted down, 3 of those exploding in the process. The disaster released countless tons of highly radioactive materials into the air, and weather patterns carried that radiation across the Pacific Ocean into North America within days. According to the French Nuclear Agency, North America was literally saturated with intense radiation as early as March 21st of 2011. The map below was provided by the French Nuclear Agency and shows the radiation cloud from Fukushima. Yakima, being on the U.S. West Coast, was hit particularly hard, as demonstrated by the darker color of the radiation plume above. While the Fukushima disaster was taking place, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, made the deliberate decision to not deploy the portable radiation monitors to the West Coast. It seems that someone in the EPA knew things were spiraling out of control, and instead of taking action to protect the public, they stuck their collective heads in the sand, like an ostrich. After all, if they didn't deploy the radiation measuring devices, they would not have any proof of danger. The idiotic government view was simple. No proof, no danger. Now we see the danger. Persons living anywhere in the western United States, especially in states along the West Coast, must seriously worry about having children due to genetic damage suffered by parents exposed to Fukushima radiation. Put simply, your genes, your chromosomes, may be forever damaged by what you were exposed to. If you try to have a child, you may end up with a mutant. All because the nuclear industry throws its money around to buy government approval for those hideously dangerous power plants. And that same government sticks its head in the sand to cover up the danger, even when it's literally in the air around us, because they don't want to be blamed for unleashing this nightmare on the public. None of the babies suffering from the deformities mentioned above have to this date been checked for radiation. Incidentally, the International Olympic Committee has approved Tokyo as the venue for the 2020 Summer Olympics. As our young, healthy athletes travel to that nation to compete, little will they know that their bodies will be silently pummeled by radiation, and their ability to have children later in their lives may be destroyed. Anyway, source, the NBC News, and just click below to go to watch this for yourself, and Anyway, God bless all of you, and thank you so much.